Visit elmhurst.org to explore the new City of Elmhurst website. Find out the latest Elmhurst news, pay utility bills and parking tickets, report concerns, and much more. Elmhurst.org is an ideal way to discover what Elmhurst offers your business, your family, your life.
The Elmhurst Historical Museum, located in downtown Elmhurst, is proud to present award-winning exhibits for visitors of all ages. Our Adult Tea Time Talk series, family programs, and special events make learning about history interesting and fun. Admission is free, and on-site parking is available. Visit the Elmhurst Historical Museum soon. Call us today, or go to our website for the latest program details. When you hear the list of accomplishments achieved by fearless Fred Lorenzen, it's hard to imagine that his story has gone untold. He was named as one of the top 50 NASCAR drivers of all time. He was the first Northerner to become a NASCAR champion, and he was the winner of the 1965 Daytona 500. The Elmhurst Historical Museum is proud to present Fred's story in the new exhibit, On the Road to Glory, Fred Lorenzen. The exhibit tells the story of a fast-driving Elmhurst kid who went on to drive himself into the annals of NASCAR racing history. Let's take a look. I'm here with Lance Tauser, the curator of exhibits here at the Elmhurst Historical Museum. And Lance, can you tell us a little bit about why you decided to bring the story of Fred Lorenzen to light?
Well, we were doing a lot of research about storylines and exhibit ideas, and we actually had a couple of things kick around, and one of the ideas was, sort of the story of the sports of the city and who were the most prominent sporting figures, and Fred's name came up. And honestly, I didn't know that much about NASCAR. I didn't know that anything really about Fred Lorenzen, and so I really started from scratch. And the more I read, the more I invested into the story, the more I realized that he deserved an exhibit on his own based on this incredible career that he had. He he came from our town. He was born here. He went to school here. He started his racing career in the Chicago area. He got an opportunity to race at the highest level, and he succeeded at that level. In fact, the rate in which he won is so impressive. He didn't race full seasons. He didn't even race that long, but he won with such frequency. It was remarkable. And we had just a really great experience partnering with all these organizations. His kids, Amanda and Chris, were so supportive. And I made the call to the NASCAR Hall of Fame and tracked down their historian, Buzz McKinn. And I'm telling him who I am, introducing myself and saying, I'm from Elmhurst, and we're thinking about doing this as an exhibit. And I really was trying to get a perspective as to how important Fred was to the sport. And really, before I got the words out of my mouth, he was like, "Oh my gosh, yes, he's a hero to so many people. You must do it. It should have been done years ago. It's a shame he's not in the Hall of Fame." And I was sort of overwhelmed with that. And then I was really overwhelmed with the support that we got. The NASCAR media group loaned us and allowed us to use a lot of great vintage race footage and interviews. And we did all these kiosks that went along with the story. We partnered with an amazing writer, Ben White, who had written Bobby Allison's biography and also had written some books, some history books on NASCAR. And so they put us in touch with him. And people came out of the woodwork to support it. And we borrowed artifacts from the NASCAR Hall of Fame and the Motorsports Hall of Fame and the Illinois Stock Car Hall of Fame and from the Lorenzen family. And, they were integral as well in helping us sort of put together this little mini documentary. They arranged for Ned Jarrett to be interviewed, and Bobby Allison himself narrated our documentary, and all these images that we were allowed to use allowed us to put together a piece that we're very proud of.
Affectionately known as Fearless Freddie, the Golden Boy, and the Elmhurst Express, Fred Lorenzen was one of NASCAR's greatest stars from 1961 to 1967. He greatly contributed to stock car racing's storied past and is still known today as Elmhurst's most recognized sports icon. His incredible story continues to inspire young racers throughout the United States as they pursue their own dreams of success. Born December 30th, 1934, Lorenzen was competitive from an early age.
I always liked cars I had go-karts in Elmhurst, Illinois. Took the father's lawnmower engine off his lawnmower, made a go-kart out of a little midget car, ran around the streets in Elmhurst till the cops come to the house one day and took it away because I go riding around the block and there was all weeds in the corners and nobody could see when I was coming, and the lady had almost run over me, and so she reported me. So I just always liked cars, and that was my thing all my life.
As a teenager, Lorenzen drag raced on County Line Road in the stripped 1952 Oldsmobile housed at a local gas station. In the spring of 1956, he drove his own Chevrolet at O'Hare Speedway and Langhorne Speedway in the late model division and won track championships at both tracks. The following year, he raced in NASCAR events at Milwaukee State Park Fairgrounds.
We went to Soldiers Field. We tied for first place. The following weekend, we won it, and then Jake Tellerico, one of my buddies that was racing too, he says, "Why don't we build you a car?" So I just wanted to start racing. So we started racing in 1955 at Soldiers Field. Stoney was running there. We bought his car at the end of the year and built that, put some 56 sheet metal on it, and won the championship in 56 with it in 57.
Lorenzen returned to Illinois in 1957 and won USAC Series championships in 1958 and 59. He moved south in 1960 to race in NASCAR's Grand National Division and finished 15th in the point standings. After only 10 starts, he returned to Elmhurst, discouraged and uncertain of his future. Lorenzen claimed his first career NASCAR victory at Martinsville, Virginia in March of 1961. He followed that with a highly charged triumph in Darlington's Rebel 300 in April, beating out veteran Curtis Turner in a memorable late race duel. In 1962, Lorenzen won twice in 19 starts. His first win that season came in Atlanta, and again at Augusta, Georgia, in a Ford owned by Mamie Reynolds.
Fred Lorenzen sets the pace in an Autolite-equipped 62 Ford.
The 1963 season proved to be Lorenzen's best year.
Remember, if he does it in 55 seconds, he's doing about 163 miles an hour. Freddie, very popular, a bachelor, handsome young fellow, formerly from Elmhurst, Illinois. Okay, and here is Freddie Lorenzen pulling into the pit area right now, which means we're going to have a new leader.
Wins at Atlanta, Charlotte, Bristol, Weaverville, North Carolina, Huntington, West Virginia, and Martinsville helped secure a third-place finish in points. He entered just over half of the 55 races on the schedule that season, with winnings totaling $122,587. He became the first driver in NASCAR history to earn more than $100,000 in a single season. In 1964, Lorenzen entered only 16 races, but went to victory lane 8 times, including 5 in a row at Bristol, Atlanta, North Wilkesboro, Martinsville, and Darlington. Of the 1,953 laps during that 5-race stretch, Lorenzen led 1,679 of them. It remains one of the most dominating performances over 7 weeks in NASCAR history.
When I first saw Fred Lorenzen come to Daytona and race in a Holman and Moody Ford, I thought, hey, that kid has got a lot of talent. And he did have. He showed it immediately that he had a lot of talent. Obviously he did have, or Ford wouldn't have brought him there to begin with. But he was a professional right from the very beginning. He knew how to handle himself. He knew how to get along with the crew. He knew how to relate to the crew chief to make the car feel like he wanted it to feel. And he was very good on the racetrack. He was a tremendous race driver.
As fate would have it, Fireball Roberts was a Holman and Moody teammate to Lorenzen and a NASCAR great who was a mentor, hero, and friend. But during the running of the World 600 at Charlotte Motor Speedway on May 24, 1964, Roberts was involved in a horrendous crash coming off turn 2 on the 7th lap. He was badly burned in the 3-car crash that involved Ned Jarrett and Junior Johnson. On July 2nd, Roberts died of pneumonia and blood poisoning. His untimely death played a significant role in Lorenzen's decision to retire from driving 3 years later.
He was just sort of my idol. And then when he got killed in the crash, it's just like, I guess when you're a little kid, you find out there's no Santa Claus. It just sort of took everything out of the race. It just changed my whole theory of auto racing. I would think nothing could ever happen to this. He was the god in NASCAR then.
Fred Lorenzen in number 28 shows what it looks like when the car is in the groove. Lorenzen hangs on to first place with a near-empty fuel tank. And here comes the rain. The track is getting slick. And the spectators are getting wet.
Due to heavy rain, Lorenzen was crowned winner of the Daytona 500 after only 133 of 200 laps were completed on the famed Daytona International Speedway.
It's over. Fred Lorenzen is the winner. He finally did it at Daytona.
And Fred, you've waited 6 long years. Congratulations.
Well, I just never thought I could do it. The 50-miler and the 100-miler in the last couple of weeks, everything just sort of seemed to go wrong. I guess just getting outrun, and this is the one I always wanted all my life.
Well, you know, you have really completed the Grand Slam, the first race driver ever to do it on the super tracks of America. You've done it at Darlington, you've done it at Charlotte, Atlanta, and now the big 500 here at Daytona. I know that not only are a little richer, about $28,000.
Well, about $31,000.
Is that how much it is?
31.
Actually, as far as the race went,
I got to count it.
As far as the race went, Fred, it looked like you were going to have some tough luck again. When that right front fender bent into your tire, we could hear it screaming as you went by. We could even see it smoking. Did you realize that you were in that?
Well, I was running out of fuel. I was going to pit the next lap, and me and Marvin were racing down the back stretch, and it seemed like he tried to go between the fence and me, and there wasn't quite enough room, and we both took contact, and it slammed me into the rail with the right front corner, and I knew it was rubbing, but I thought that because it was raining so hard that there would be a caution, so I'd just stick it out and wait, but I was so spitting and sputtering on fuel that I had to come in. But I knew I had a lap on Marvin, so I didn't think I'd lose that much time, and everything worked out pretty good. I'd have just as soon raced for it, but that's the way it goes.
Fred, congratulations to you.
Thank you very much.
You'll be back here next year to defend your crown.
Sure will.
What changed him, they had a wreck at Daytona. He wound up in the infield, and the windshield was out of the car. It wrecked. It didn't wreck really that bad. It bounced off the sidewall off 4 and wound up down there, and he got out through the windshield.
Lorenzen made the difficult decision to retire on April 2nd, 1967 at Atlanta International Raceway. He had reached the top of his profession and felt there wasn't anything left to accomplish. Even as he circled the Atlanta International Raceway alone in front of packed grandstand, he suddenly realized he would miss driving more than he could ever have imagined. As it turned out, Lorenzen spent time in various ventures the years that followed, including a role as team manager for me when I drove for Holman and Moody in 1968.
Alice and I did because he was sharp in the chassis, and I feel a driver that's got real sharp in the chassis is half the battle. I mean, they got to be able to set the car up good. He knew how to drive, and he also knew how to set a chassis up, so that gives you a 100% edge on everybody else. Good, sharp driver that knows chassis. So that I figure if I get a driver that really is good, that'll make me look good too, so it'd be easy to work with. He was good to work with. He was sort of a hard head just like me, so at times it was tough, but chassis is what win races. Chassis, brains, and young age.
With Fred's help, we won races at Macon, Georgia, and Rockingham, North Carolina. He later worked as a race broadcaster, an actor, and consultant in Hollywood. Lorenzen attempted a comeback in NASCAR in 1970, with his best finish of third at Charlotte Motor Speedway in October of that year for team owner Richard Howard. He drove Plymouth for team owner Ray Nichols in 1971, but that same year he was badly injured in a crash during a practice session at Darlington Raceway in a Ford owned by Glenn Wood. His last race in NASCAR came in Hoss-Ellington Chevrolet at Martinsville Speedway, a Virginia short track where he won 6 times, including 4 in a row. He started 5th and finished 27th in his final start.
I mean, when you talk about one of the true pioneers of the sport of NASCAR, you have to mention the name Fred Lorenzen. It's really incredible to me on the business side of the sport to see how NASCAR has evolved from its early years of literally racing on the beaches in Daytona to now what has become a multi-billion-dollar worldwide industry with generating tremendous economic impact and jobs creation. And really, you have to look to the sport's early years and the pioneers like Fred Lorenzen that contributed to its early success and laid the foundation for where we are today.
In today's racing circles, Lorenzen is often named as one of NASCAR's greatest legends for what he accomplished during his career of limited schedules.
Once he got to the racetrack, he would be friendly with you to speak to you, but he was all about racing at that point. I mean, his mindset was about that race car and what he could do to get it to the front and to keep it there and to win the race. And he didn't mind getting there and mixing it up with the guys like Curtis Turner and Junior Johnson and those who had been around for a good while. And he had run-ins with the various different ones on the racetrack because of his aggressive style. And I admired him for that. I mean, he could flat get in there and handle the race car as well as they could and make things happen.
Descriptions of Lorenzen's driving talent, including his ability to set up his car's chassis as well or better than those on his crew. Lorenzen was also known as a thinking driver, often falling back and timing in his mind the exact moment to challenge for the win.
We've had a lot of visitors here to the museum, fans of Fred, people that are discovering Fred for the first time, and we were really fortunate to have a very special visitor recently. Fred Lorenzen himself came to view the exhibit, and he took some time out to sit down with me. Here's a little bit of that interview. What did you think of the exhibit?
Unbelievable.
Yeah?
Yep. That's perfection.
Wow, thank you. Did it jog some memories?
Yep. A million memories.
A million memories. All right, wonderful. Yeah, I mean, we did a lot of research on you. You didn't even know we did. You didn't even know we were doing it.
No.
And I tell you, your daughter was an amazing help. Both your daughter and your son were extremely helpful.
They both know a lot about the sports.
They do. And one of my favorite parts of this whole story is that they basically grew up with a dad who was a real estate agent here in Elmhurst, and that you had a lot of trophies in the basement, and really kind of discovered how special you were to a sport. And now that they're adults, they're really realizing all these people that you impacted in this sport, and kind of having a sort of a discovery of how important that was. And how do you feel about that?
That's great. Makes me feel proud.
That's great. Well, and they have They actually were really important in us borrowing all the trophies and the artifacts and everything, because you had so many. It took us a long time to try to figure out which ones we should put on display, because like you want Atlanta like 5 or 6 times or something like that, and how many Atlanta trophies should we put out? Maybe 1 or 2, but so that was it was a little overwhelming, and we're very proud that you're from Elmhurst, and that you talked about Elmhurst when you were racing, and you could have said that you were from the Chicago area, but you said you were from Elmhurst, and for us being the history museum here in Elmhurst, it really kind of it allowed us to tell this story that is a national story, because you were very famous for a long period of time, but the announcers on the television would always say, a handsome young fella from Elmhurst, Illinois. And for a lot of NASCAR fans all over the country, they only heard about Elmhurst because you said you were from Elmhurst. And so to a certain extent, you kind of put Elmhurst on the map. So, that's something that we're very proud of, that you're from here. Yeah. Any other thoughts that you take away from the film, or seeing all the trophies again?
I can't believe it.
You can't believe it. Well, I mean, we're extremely excited that you came today.
Very well done.
Thank you. And we appreciate that you took time out to come to see the exhibit, and so many people have been coming to see it, and so many people that are fans of yours come to see it, but there are a lot of people that have not that familiar with NASCAR, but they're familiar with Elmhurst, and they're walking away from this exhibit with the idea that I never knew somebody so famous and so important in this sport came from my town. And so it makes people feel very proud that they live in Elmhurst now.
Yep. It's neat.
All right.
All the things they made, the cards.
Yeah. Well, Bobby Allison is going to be here April 4th.
He is.
And he's going to spend a couple hours here meeting your fans and his fans. And he's going to autograph some of these things, and we're very excited to have him come too. So
that's neat.
All right. Well, thank you again for coming in.
Thanks very much.
The museum would like to take this opportunity to thank Chicagoland Speedway in Joliet for their support of the On the Road to Glory exhibit. Museum staff has been busy planning a number of activities and events related to the On the Road to Glory exhibit. Bobby Allison, NASCAR champion and Hall of Famer, will be in the house in April. And on Museum Day, May 19th, the Fred Lorenzen number 28 tribute car will be on the grounds. Be sure to stop by soon to see On the Road to Glory, Fred Lorenzen. The museum is open Tuesday through Sunday from 1 to 5 p.m. Admission is free. For more information, please go to our website at www.elmhursthistory.org. Thanks for watching. The Churchville Schoolhouse opens the door to the best education in history. Visitors to the Churchville Schoolhouse take a step back in time to watch history unfold in a restored National Register of Historic Places property that dates to the Civil War era. Students of today walk in the footsteps of local farm children from the early days of DuPage County for an authentic living history experience led by a schoolmarm of the early 1900s. A visit to the Churchville Schoolhouse is hands-on, educational, and fun. Participants use slate chalkboards and McGuffey readers for the day's lessons. And children will be asked to follow proper classroom etiquette. Reading, writing, and arithmetic are practiced, and students test their skills during an old-fashioned spelling bee. And of course, no school day is complete without recess featuring games of the early 1900s. The schoolhouse is a popular place for scouts and day camps too. Group visits can also be arranged for service clubs, tour groups, and other adult organizations. The Churchville Schoolhouse Living History program is operated by the Elmhurst Historical Museum. Call the museum today to book a field trip or find out more information. Call 630-833-1457 or visit our website at churchvilleschoolhouse.org. The Churchville Schoolhouse is waiting to open the doors for your school or community group. Plan a memorable learning experience today for the best education in history.
Hi, I'm John Quigley, President and CEO of the Elmhurst Chamber of Commerce and Industry. In these challenging economic times, it's imperative that our residents and businesses band together to not only shop Elmhurst, but buy Elmhurst whenever possible. We have great stores in our city center, Spring Road, Butterfield Road, York and Villette Streets, St. Charles and Route 83, North Avenue and Lake Street, along North York and even Grand Avenue. I ask for your help. Let's keep our tax dollars in Elmhurst.